Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to WrestleLine. I'm your host, John Scott, joined as always by my co-host, Matt Essex. And you join us from the UK on a very fine and sunny but humid day, Matt, I think it's fair to say. How you doing this week, Matt? And it's been a little while since we've come back on since last time. A lot's happened that we've got to talk about, but obviously the last 3 days have been pretty jam-packed, I would say.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. I was off on holiday for 4 days, only 4 days. I come back and the whole weekend, all I've been doing is just like catching up on wrestling. It's crazy how much you can miss in just a few days.
Yeah, certainly a lot of stuff has been going on, and even with the podcast as well, we've certainly been doing a lot of things in the last few weeks as well. So I feel like since last time we came on, there has been an awful lot going on. I've got a lot of emails since then as well, so going to try and get through as many of those as I can. Don't forget, folks, if you're listening to us now and you want to email us in on the show, you got any thoughts about the last 3 days worth of pay-per-views, wrestleline@gmail.com. That's wrestleline@gmail.com. So Matt, obviously, since last talking to you, Eric Bischoff is back, and so is Paul Heyman in significant roles as executives. We're being told now. How much of this, when it was first the news broke, people probably assumed, as well as I did, to be honest with you, because you broke the news to me, Matt. I remember that this might be a gimmick type effort from WWE. However, following those weeks since the announcement, I think it's listening to Eric Bischoff on his own podcast and bits and pieces from Paul Heyman, it does seem, Matt, that WWE have taken it upon themselves to sort of move very drastically to shift focus and go in a different direction. What did you make of this choice, and is it purely because of AEW that this is happening? Is it because of the ratings that we've spoken about many a times on this podcast? What has made Vince McMahon suddenly, Matt, decide, okay, I'm going to hand it over to Eric Bischoff, who we haven't seen? We've only seen him. He came back, I think, a couple of years ago. Was it on some sort of like anniversary show? I think he came out on Raw and waved. And then that's it. We haven't really seen him at all. And when he was last there, Matt, it's worth pointing out that even though he was general manager, he was only an on-air talent. So he's never had a creative position. Paul Heyman, on the other hand, has. He worked SmackDown, but there was a lot of problems back then between him and Vince, especially when it comes to the new ECW, creative issues. But yeah, going back to my original point, Matt, what has made Vince McMahon suddenly have a U-turn on this, do you think?
I think it's a combination of all of these things just coming around at the perfect time. Of course, the ratings aren't great, and AEW now, no matter what WWE says, it is looking like a legitimate threat to the business. Like, maybe give it a few years and it will become even more so. So, to try and turn things around right now while you can. And especially when you think about all the older fans that may be dropping off from the WWE product, they will just lose them to AEW unless they do something pretty drastic now. And it's only been a couple of weeks, but I'm already feeling like small changes here and there. A little bit more of an edgy product, seeing like sort of swear words filtering through here and there. The use of Kofi's middle finger now. It's small things, but it doesn't just change overnight. They have to introduce big changes more slowly. So I do feel like we're heading in the right direction. I mean, people have been saying that perhaps we're going back to an Attitude Era style kind of WWE. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get there, but it will be good to see them actually cater to the adults a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree. The decision on what was your feelings about Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman, though, Matt, in terms of those two being the sort of figureheads of both brands? What do you think they're going to bring to it? Are they going to be able to stamp their mark on it, or do you think that Vince is still going to have his thumb firmly on the button?
Oh yeah, I'm sure if there's anything he expressly doesn't like, he's going to pull the plug on it. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's we have to wait and see, but it does feel like it has the potential to be a genius move, because these are two guys that we all know are proven in the wrestling business, and their promoting skills are like almost second to none, because they were successful for a reason. And also to have them on separate shows, it kind of reignites that little bit of rivalry they might have felt towards each other once upon a time. So the whole thing about outdoing one and then the other one wanting to respond and make their show the best it can be, I feel like that's a nice little playoff Vince may have instigated there. So it's one way to ensure perhaps you get the most out of them.
Sure, and we got a lot of emails actually from people saying, why isn't Eric Bischoff doing Raw like he did last time, and why isn't Paul Heyman doing SmackDown? But I think it makes sense to change them over, considering SmackDown is going to be on Fox soon, and I've got a feeling that Eric Bischoff, he's used to handling big networks like he did with WCW. I think he's probably the ideal sort of go-between with Fox when they get there, to sort of handle that kind of pressure with them, because there is going to be a lot more pressure on SmackDown to do better ratings, to get a better product out there. So I feel like it makes perfect sense to have someone like Eric Bischoff, who's probably well experienced with dealing with, network people. And I think with Paul Heyman, on Raw, again, you hear so many stories, Matt, how he's helped quite a few of the talent backstage. Doesn't always get spoken about, but he's very hands-on, more than what people probably realise backstage, with just little nods here and there. He's definitely got his favourites. I think we've seen some of these kind of things lately with some of the storylines, a few call-ups, a few people we haven't seen for a long time that we know Heyman has a lot of connections with. I kind of feel like he's already getting stuck in as it is. But like you say, Matt, I think it's going to take a while. I don't think this is something you can just, the first couple of times I felt like they were rushing it a little bit, like there was too much stuff going on, and they were trying to book too fast. But I think this is going to be a slow burner, because you've got to try and undo a lot of the formula to what's been going on. And I think one of the challenging things for Paul Heyman, Matt, will be the 3 hours of Raw. It's quite a long time to fill, and I think anyone going into this role would have the same problem. So I'm interested to see how he handles that and where that goes. But small steps, I think, is the way forward. And I think with SmackDown, I think they've got a bit of time. I think with Eric Bischoff, he's probably got a little bit more time than what Heyman's got, because they're not on Fox till, the back end of the year. So he's got time to kind of plant the seeds now. And by the time they launch on SmackDown, which probably will be like around the 20th anniversary of SmackDown as well, because it was 99. So he'll probably have a decent setup, or we hope so anyway. But I think he's got a little bit more time at the moment than what Heyman will on Raw. So yeah, that was a very interesting move from WWE. A lot of people also emailed us, Matt, saying WWE have only done this to stop Eric Bischoff from going to AEW. What do you make of that? Is that partly true, or do you think that's too much?
I don't really know what role Eric Bischoff would fill for them in AEW. Tony Khan's, as you mentioned before, he's very up on his wrestling, and he's got a great business mind. And of course, you've got the partners that are there as well. With Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes, and Jim Ross is there. All these great wrestling minds. So I'm not really sure, that Eric Bischoff would really fit in that kind of situation. Anyway, I mean, it does take him out of the equation just in case. But I would say WWE definitely need him more than AEW need him.
Yeah, I think so as well. So, it's interesting. I mean, we said, Matt, going back ages ago, the great thing about AEW coming along is it would give WWE a kick up the arse, so to speak, and make them think differently, make them produce more quality over just the bog standard stuff. Because when you've got no competition, you can kind of get away with doing whatever you want. But now, I kind of feel like, this... As a fan, this is fantastic, and I think even the industry is better off having two big companies go head to head. I just think this is better for everyone, including the talent, because the talent now, I mean, this is not like TNA where you'd have to take probably a huge pay cut to get a great opportunity, but you probably wouldn't make the money anywhere close to WWE. With AEW, they are able to hand out very decent, lucrative contracts where talent can earn great money in two places, and I think that's a significant thing with this one. So I do think this helps the industry. That's my feeling on it. I don't really feel you have to be one or the other. I think you can enjoy both. And I think even Tony Khan, to a degree, he is a WWE fan, or at least was. But he might feel that he fits in the category now as a person that age where he feels he's sort of outgrown it a little bit, and there isn't enough sort of for him. So this is like his way of doing it. So I kind of feel like there is a bit of a respect thing going on, regardless of what people say. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Matt, let's just go back a little bit then as well. Now back to obviously Saturday night, which was a little bit controversial. Obviously WWE, Matt, ran Evolve on the WWE Network, which obviously ran head to head with AEW's show. What did you make of that decision, Matt? And was that sort of a little underhanded tactic, sort of reminiscing of sort of ROH at MSG? Was that them trying to say to them, hang on a minute, we'll put something up against it just to show you, sort of thing?
Well, regardless of whether it was intentional or not from WWE, they had the power not to allow it to happen. Because we've seen, and we've been a victim of this, their recent cancelling of shows.
Yeah, we're going to get to that as well. I've got that down.
So if they can do that to just any old fans, then there was no reason for this pay-per-view to be held the same night as the AEW one. And for me, it doesn't really hold WWE in the best light, because the other one was for a good cause, and people were there and up for it and looking forward to actually something positive coming out of these horrible tragedies that go on. So, at least they were going to make some money for this charity and actually do something positive. But WWE just seemed to say, well, why watch that when you can watch this? But it's not even at that point where they should worry. I mean, they're telling everyone that AEW isn't really a competition for them, and that they're not worried. So why put a pay-per-view on the same night? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because I remember us talking at the start of the year, Matt, where we kept thinking, okay, AEW, the way they're going on, they keep talking about WWE, they keep going to where WWE live events are. Now, in the past, since they've started, Matt, with their first pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, and the build-up to it, I kind of feel like they've dropped off on that, and they're more sticking to their own stuff. And I kind of feel like it's shifted the other direction. I feel like WWE are now, they're doing more of these tactics, more of these mentions, whether it's Sami Zayn and whether it's like the thing at the Hall of Fame with Triple H, who couldn't stop talking about it, with Billy Gunn. Like, they seem to be much more with this mentioning business. Whereas before, Matt, we know Vince McMahon, no one would even dare say TNA. And that was going back ages. You didn't even know it existed. We'd see stars like even CM Punk when he come from Ring of Honor, you'd never mention it. But now, it's just really odd that a current product going up against them, and even when WCW was around, Matt, Vince never used to like people mentioning the competition. So I kind of do feel it's very inconsistent of them, and I'm quite surprised that Vince McMahon is wanting that to happen, because I just think that it's sort of, in a way, it promotes the other product. I mean, regardless of whatever you say about them, whether it's negative, positive, whatever you want to do, it's going to get the person that maybe didn't even have a clue about AEW, all of a sudden, he's thinking, hang on, who is AEW? As Sami Zayn mentioned, AEW, who is that? Oh, I'll look them up now. It seems like it's almost like free publicity. So I'm quite kind of surprised that WWE have done that recently, which is odd, because I expected it more from AEW's side of things. But you know what? I was listening to Jim Ross, Matt, and he very recently said that of course, we've got this Raw reunion thing. We're going to get to that in a minute, but he mentioned, Matt, that he had got an invite, and I think he wanted fans to know that he was invited in case they thought, oh, that's out of order of WWE not to invite the voice of Monday Night Raw back just because he's in AEW and all.